and gentlemen, we're back again. And a very warm welcome to all of you once again. Since morning, we have heard a lot of speakers here, but I think this is one of the agenda points and the topics that we're going to discuss today are brilliant. So please pay attention to this. It's an absolute pleasure to be a part of this big CII show. It's commonly said that AI, VR, AR, automation, they're all revolutionizing, and the machines also, they're all revolutionizing this world as we know today. And it's the next big thing. Probably it's bigger than all of us combined here, isn't it? I'm sure you will agree with me on this. However, the AI, automation, machinery, how are they going to bridge the gaps between the humans and the machines that we know about today? And is it really going to help us? Is it really going to augment, transform, or is it going to replace the humans? And this is a very common question that is posed to everybody. These are very, very pertinent questions, and I'm sure all of you are very, very eager to know and understand the differences and the basis of this also. But at this point in time, I just wanted to ask you a question. And it's a very simple question, and you can actually give me a very simplest of the answers. Can anybody tell us the difference between knowledge and wisdom? Anybody? Any guesses, any definition? There's a gentleman out there at the back. The application of knowledge is wisdom. Very right. Thank you so much. And absolutely. What's your good name? Charles. Thank you so much, Charles. You are absolutely right. At this moment in time, I would like to sort of narrate an incident to you. I was once in the mountains of Tibet, and I bumped into the most enlightened monk there. And I would want to believe that he was a great Dalai Lama. I'm sure he was. I did not ask him. But he explained to me the difference in the most simplest of forms and fashions. He says, knowledge tells us that tomato is a fruit. But wisdom tells us not to add that tomato in a fruit salad. That's the simplest of the definitions, And it was profound. I found it to be very, very profound and exact. The reason I brought this up is because today with us, we have two of the most prolific experts who have years and years of hands-on experience, knowledge, and wisdom as well to go with it. On behalf of the big CII show, I welcome both of them, Viral and Karun, with us today. Without further ado, let's discuss and gain some insights, knowledge, and wisdom from these preeminent visionaries as well. So thank you so much for joining us, Varun and Karun, and of course, Viral as well. Viral, you come from NCDEX, right? Yeah. All right, and I think you have tons and tons of experience. That's what Shagufta mentioned earlier, 20 plus years. We would certainly want to know, and of course, our audience here wants to know, how does one ensure that there is no gap between, or how does the humans and machinery and machines and robotic workforces coexist and thrive in this business world?
So thanks, Ninad. I think that I've heard it for the first time, information and wisdom, knowledge and wisdom, and that's very beautifully explained by this monk there. So coming back to the question, I think we humans have been surrounded by machine and have been coexisting for probably, I don't know, donkey's years, I guess. It's just our definition of machines are evolving as we mature. Calculators probably was a machine. When it was invented, everybody used to do manual calculations, and calculators started doing that thing which humans does more precisely and more accurately and very fast. I still remember, probably in the examination days when I was a student in the school, we were not allowed to take calculators, because humans were expected to do those calculations. Now, when my kids are in the school, the calculators are allowed in the exam, because that's given, that job is not required to be done by humans, that is required to be done by machines, right? So, then there's an invent of spreadsheets, right? When the spreadsheets, that's again a software version of that. And I still remember when spreadsheets were invented, and mostly finance and accounts team were actually doing spreadsheet calculation and then rechecking and revalidating it in calculator whether spreadsheet is what he's doing is right or not. So those part of things again were kind of augmented by the machines. So humans and machines have been coexisting for quite some time. It's just that our definitions of machines are kind of evolving. calculators to computers to internet, now robotics, right? So at the end of the day, if I have to summarize uh, the way in which humans have been coexisting with machines, and probably that will continue in future, is to finally identify what type of work machines will do and what type of works will be done by humans. Anything which is methodological in nature, anything which is repeating, anything which is a safety hazard for a human, which humans should not perform, is best outsourced, if I may use that word, to machines. And which leaves more space for humans to do more cognitive type of work, to do more work which is more related to governance and more related to creativity. So if we kind of have this distinction very clearly defined and do those outsource those tasks to machines, and remaining tasks humans can continue doing as we evolve. And having said that, machines have been taking up a lot more work than what they were doing earlier. And in future also, we'll probably see whatever we are doing today, most of that will be taken up by machines. Having said that, we will do something more, which we weren't doing earlier. So that's what probably, in short, is probably we have to kind of see how we kind of differentiate between the work we do and work is probably done by the machines.
All right. I think that
Maybe
was
if I
greatly.
if I can just add
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
perspective.
Please add on to it. This is a free flowing chat, in
Yeah.
fact.
So I think very, very nicely summarized. But if you just look at the question and look at some of the phrases in the question, in terms of how humans and machine will coexist, there is an implied assumption that the machines are going to behave differently, right? And there is some implied presumption as well that machines probably, will have maybe emotions, or machines are going to do things which probably humans do, and so on and so forth. So let me take the two keywords in the question. One is coexist, the other was thrive. So if you look at, the living world, whether it is the plant kingdom or the animal kingdom, two species can coexist only if there is no competition between them. So it's important to note that if they can coexist if there is no competition. If they have to thrive, they have to collaborate. You need to have symbiotic relationships between the species for them to thrive. So then that becomes the fundamental building block of if machines evolve to a situation that they not only just do mundane tasks, but they evolve to do larger things. In that scenario, the coexistence can happen if they are not competing, right? And the thriving can happen if they collaborate. So those are the paradigms you need to look at. So those are the type of use cases you need to look at, and we need to really build those architectures when we build those machines.
All right, very well said. Thank you so much, Karun, for adding on to what Viral had mentioned. Yes, you spoke about competition and especially about collaboration as well. I think that is the mantra that we all should kind of vie for. Thank you so much. Karun, for you, since you mentioned this, according to you, what are some of the pressing challenges faced by organizations when they go about automating and automation? How can you tackle them?
Okay.
I'm sure the audience would like to know that as well.
So great question, because we are engulfed and we are drowned by the news of automation, right? Everybody wants to automate, and till there is no automation, right? But if we go back and really look at what have we been doing since the age of computers, I think there's a great example on calculator, right? The basic need has remained, right? So if you're a company, you're bound by compliance, regulation, reporting requirements, and so on. So if you're a very small business, you could do your work in a ledger in a book. You don't need automation, right?
Right.
Every day you're doing only 2-3 transactions, you can note down, and you're done. As the company size grows, as the complexity grows, this is no longer viable, right? So you come and devise means to do it. So that's how you end up with systems like system of records like ERPs, CRMs, and things like that, where you're able to digitally record so that the computation needed is done. So that's like your first kind of level of automation, so on and so forth, right? So we have to go back and to really see, has the need changed? In most often than not, in almost all scenarios, the need is always remained the same. So for example, let me take the case of Indian Railways and ticket booking. I don't know how many of us remember that you had to stand in the queue to book the tickets and there was only one booking station. The need was to book the ticket. Even today, the same need is there, that you have to book the ticket. But you can book the ticket from the confines of your home, right? So how we meet and greet and deliver the need has changed. And that's what I think, the advances in automation has helped us. So organizations have to go back to some founding steps and really look at what is the need, how do you approach the need, and then determine how you meet the challenge.
Absolutely. And just to add on to that, similar to that, there is this entire airlines example as well. And initially we had to go to the counter at the airport and then get the bookings done and so on and so forth, right? Now everything is online, digital. We can actually web check in and so on and so forth, right? So I think it really has helped the current generation and the generations to come. So thank you so much. Viral, I'll circle back to you again. According to you, how do you see cobots being used today and what will change in the future?
Right. So earlier when the robots were introduced, they were essentially industrial robots, or if I may call, they were autonomous robots, where the human interaction was, it was not designed to be working along with humans. They were basically there to do certain tasks at a very fast rate and for a particular purpose. So designed for a particular purpose to do things very fast. And if something in between happens, if there is a human intervention, they essentially are not designed to kind of handle that. As we kind of understood the problems and trying to find solutions over there, a smaller version of those, essentially called as cobots, which are essentially collaborative robots, were introduced, where they have been designed such that they can interact with humans. So essentially in a business process, which an organization does, certain part of the business process is done by a robot and certain parts of business process is done by humans. And it can be sequential also, it can be parallel also. There can be a case where the entire process is done by a robot and then it is basically done by a human. But at the end of the day, when a result is achieved, it is a collaborative effort between a cobot and a human. And there are lots of examples, as Ninad was kind of mentioning. Primary examples mostly is in logistics and manufacturing, where packagings are being done by robots. Placements, etc., are done by robots. Pelleting, etc., are again done by robots. Of late, I've kind of visited a restaurant in Jaipur. I'm not sure, there may be others in India as well, but I especially visited a restaurant in Jaipur where the food is prepared by a chef is a robot. Waiter is a robot, so we'll basically serve the food. And the fancy part is the bill is also been, and these are all different robots, by the way. They have designed it in a program such that they perform different functions. The bill is essentially given to you by a robot, and they also click a selfie with you after you pay the bill, obviously. And they also email those selfies on your cell phone. So that's a novelty factor, right? But essentially, those tasks which humans were doing are now being done by a robot. So it's one classical example which just came to my mind when we talk about cobots. And also, I think there are back in financial services, since I belong to financial services, there are software robots essentially which does algorithmic trading. So you don't need a person to punch in orders. Essentially, it's all done by algorithms, and high frequency trading is one of the examples where robots is taking some part of the process of placing orders, which essentially a human is doing. So those are some of the examples.
All right. Great. On a lighter note, Viral, I would like to know the address of this particular restaurant that which you're talking about. We'll go, both of us go together and you pay the bill, please. All right. So coming back to Karun, what implementation prerequisites need to be addressed before starting an automation program? Because I'm sure there will be a lot of planning before the execution, right? So there would be certain prerequisites that you would want to plan, chart it out before you get into execution program. If you can throw some more light on that.
Yeah. So, most organizations have automation in place already, right? But when we think of automation, predominantly our thought process revolves around what is the new technology out there and how we can apply that technology. But before that, the number one prerequisite really is, does there exist a standard work? I think that needs to be in place. Is there a standard business architecture that is in place? Then you look at, you need to create a strategic framework where you look at what does my business do? What are my critical business processes? What is my current level of automation and which is helping my business process, and what is the gap? I think that's number one prerequisite. I think the trap most of us fall into is we hear about, say, RPA, or we hear about cobots and other lingo, and then we are in a race because some other company is doing and we have to do as well. Nothing wrong in it, because you don't want to lose the race. You don't want to be a laggard. But to me, the prerequisite is, while you evaluate technologies, while you build skill set and capabilities in parallel, and in fact, probably little ahead, you need to create that strategic framework and a maturity model where you know in terms of how to attack. Think of it this way. If every single automation opportunity was a sales opportunity, and you make money out of that, then you're going to think differently. We don't think that way, right? So if every single automation opportunity was a sales opportunity, you now are going to look at what is the effort you're going to put in, what is the return you're going to get in, what is the product or service or technology you have, and how you can apply to it. So your classic product positioning, right? So if you want to sell a product or a service, you're going to look at, does a market exist? If a market doesn't exist, you want to create that market. If a market exists, you are going to look at, is it a new market for me or an old market for me, right? So you create product positioning strategies and approach. So the reason I'm kind of illustrating this is we never look at it from this prism. We look at more in terms of, hey, my business partner has said that we need to automate, so let's try to automate. But we don't go and look at why the process was broken in the first place and what is the right thing to do, what is the maturity level we are in, and so on and so forth. So to me, that is probably the number one prerequisite in terms of what I would really look at.
Very well, nicely elucidated and summarized
sorry,
also.
if
Viral, you want to
just-
come in now, probably.
Yeah. No, I will just wanted to add to what Karun said. This reminds me of one advertisement I saw probably a couple of years back. Very rightly said, can I automate? Yes, I can automate. Should I automate is the question, and what benefit you're getting. So there was one ad, I'm not sure how many of you saw this. So there was one very stormy night, and there was two neighbors. So one of those guys has automated the entire thing. Even when his main door is kind of automated, and he sees his face, and only the face recognition can open the door.
I remember that ad, yes.
Yeah. And there was a second neighbor who both of them come at the same time. Second neighbor was very navy. He was just opening the door with the key. This guy, because of the storm name, his face was kind of, not recognizable by the software, and he was standing there in the storm, and that software was not working. So the question is, you can automate. Do you really want to automate? I mean, a process of opening a door, really want to automate or not?
Right. There are, of course, pitfalls also. I mean, we need to be very, very careful to what extent we automate as such, and the need, as he rightly pointed out, a need to automate as well, right? Do we really need to kind of automate the door opening as well? Probably for a few people, yes. For a few people, no. I'm sure about it. So thank you so much, Viral. I think whilst we were discussing this analogy, right, I think the common theme which I observed was both of you are talking about collaboration. So Viral, just wanted to kind of take this collaboration point just ahead. According to you, how do you see humans and machines collaborating, and in the workplace of the future? Not now, not today, not in the present, but in the future. And what role do AI models, especially like quote unquote ChatGPT, look like? If you can just probably talk about that.
So I'm personally very excited about ChatGPT, especially because it's essentially a mixture or a collaboration of a lot of things. A software, an AI, big data. Essentially, it has, to me, it seems like the line between a human and a machine is kind of diminishing a bit. And is going to go even further. I mean, the things like, if you just talk about what ChatGPT, I'm sure all of us in the room are aware, but just to give a few of the examples, it will probably transform the way education is being done today. The moment ChatGPT was announced, I know 2 universities in US actually banned ChatGPT, saying that, boss, assignments, sab log copy kar rahe, chori kar rahe wahan se, and they actually banned ChatGPT.
In fact,
But is this...
Ivy Cup leagues as well, Ivy League universities, I heard that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the question is, so is that the right approach? That's again arguable. That you can view it in the two ways. Essentially, one is that obviously it gives you the answers children can copy. But the more important question is, what can you do with this technology to enhance your capabilities? Why can't it be seen as something which augments your knowledge? For example, let's say when internet was invented, back then, we didn't have as much of knowledge that we have today. Even today, I'll be very frank and open. I have actually gone to Google and searched about topic of this panel discussion because I don't have all the knowledge that is required for this panel, right? So that augmentation of knowledge is required. So why do we see things like ChatGPT as a roadblock? Rather, it should be made to think and kind of viewed as something which can be augmenting the humans to do our jobs better, right? Another example is probably, if I just tried ChatGPT a couple of days back and I said, give me a 2,500 calorie diet with 65% protein and 25% carb ratio. And within 5 seconds, I got the answer. Then I said, okay, customize it a bit. I want only vegetarian diet. And within 3 seconds, all customized. Now, can we say that now dietitians will lose their jobs just because ChatGPT is able to do it and faster than what the dietitians can? I probably think no. Because at the end of the day, the dietitian will also monitor your progress and see what benefits are you getting. Do you want to modulate your diet plan accordingly after? So all those follow-ups, etc. So judgmental things will still remain with humans. So I think to answer your question, Ninad, more and more tasks which humans are doing today, and I said this before, are going to be taken up by machines. And humans will be doing newer tasks which they are not doing today. So we have to kind of reinvent our skills. We have to kind of think in a way, how do we kind of leverage this technology to our advantage? And that's going to be the future.
Wow, thank you so much. We'll come back to you, Karun, in a while. Whilst you were talking about it, the biggest learning that I got in this, when Viral was talking about it, he actually went ahead and screened ChatGPT and got the answers, the responses. That is the biggest learning for me. I spent hours together to frame these questions. Tomorrow onwards, I'm just going to go to ChatGPT and just get these questions also framed for us. So thank you so much for making us understand this. So Karun, from I think what Varun mentioned, Viral what mentioned earlier, from the automation side as well, what do you think automation plays a role in delivering the unified digital experience in both from the brands, businesses, as well as the customers? Because we all know today's day and age, customer experience is the biggest thing, Without customer experience, I'll give an example as well. I mean, we're talking about delivery timelines. Domino's announced 30 minutes. Then we had the Zomato and Swiggy come in and they said, okay, we'll deliver in 20 minutes, 15 minutes. And then Blinkit comes in and Blinkit says, I will deliver it in 5-10 minutes. That's where exactly it is. So that's all about customer experience. So if you can just talk to us about this customer experience, both from brand management and also customer side as well.
No, so definitely. But I just wanted to add a little bit on the previous question. See, at the end of the day, and this is linked to your question, so that's why I'm trying to take liberty on that. At the end of the day, what do we want to do? We want to take a decision to arrive at something, right? I think that's what we are behind. So everybody in the room uses Google Maps. What does Google Maps help us do? It helps us take a decision. Before Google Maps was there, you can't say we were not driving. We used to drive, but often you would ask somebody for directions, unless you know by memory how to do it or how to.
Well-informed decisions, right? Now.
So the thing is, so that's the basic premise, basic thing what we are trying to do, right? Is decision making. So tools like ChatGPT or other AI tools are going to help us provide that information to take that decision. Google search, I think that was a good example. What is Google search helping you to do? You are trying to go look for things, and once you have all the information, you go through all of it, try to synthesize it, and then you make your view or opinion of it. What ChatGPT is doing is, it is synthesizing and giving you a synthesized information. I think that is the evolution of what is happening, right? So coming back to your question, I think if you really look at what has fundamentally changed today, I mean, I like to call it this way, is consumerization of technology is complete. So what do I mean by it? Today, technology hits the consumer before it hits the enterprise. Whatever your enterprise is, whether you're a marketing company, whether you're an industrial company, even whether you're a space company, doesn't matter. Before the company, the organization experiences the technology, people who work in the company, the people with whom you partner, your suppliers, your customers, all of them have experienced the technology, right? So as an organization, it's not enough to say customer is first, employees first, and things like that. I think what is really important is, how can we reimagine the way we work? I think that is what is important. Because there is an inherent and implicit expectation that the world will work this way. So the challenge essentially is, how can we build products that our users love and they cannot do without it? There lies the answer in terms of whether it is external brands, internal brands, any product, right? See, a product is not just about how it looks and feels. It's also about how it works, right? So how do you really look at design from that perspective? Almost everybody in the room uses WhatsApp. If I tell you that please don't use WhatsApp for 24 hours, you will like throw me out of this room. There is something in what, and it's not like, you know, these chat tools are new. 25 years ago, you had Yahoo Chat. I mean,
That's right,
if you remember, some of you guys, you had a Yahoo Messenger you can install, and you could do that. So what is the difference between Yahoo Messenger and WhatsApp, right? You chat anyway, you chat with friends. I mean, there are differences, of course there are differences, but you cannot get rid of WhatsApp. Whether you are a 15-year-old or whether you're a 90-year-old, you're hooked onto WhatsApp, right? So that's how we need to really kind of relook, reimagine in terms of how we approach products, how we approach utility of products, how we approach design, and because there is an implicit and inherent expectation of this.
All right, thank you so much. I think it was quite a power-packed discussion on the hottest topic that we have, humans and machine, the coexistence. I think the common theme that has come out in this discussion is, one is collaboration. The second is coexistence. And of course, this is going to be all coexisting. It is not going to replace the humans for sure. It is going to complement rather than replacement as well. Of course, the mundane day-to-day BAU activities are going to be performed by machines, but the most important decision-making aspects and the judgment access are going to be done by humans. It's going to be retaining at our end. So thank you so much for your time with us today. I guess we have time for, it's almost time up, but then just one question. Probably we can have Mike. Yeah, I can see the gentleman out there at the back. I'm sure the panel of experts out here are more than happy to address your questions.
For ChatGPT application, it comes under artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence category. Can you just classify according to that?
All right, so you're talking about artificial intelligence and artificial super intelligence. Is that
Yes,
so?
yes.
All right. So probably either Karun or Viral, you want to take up?
So any machine learning artificial tool today, right, predominantly if you really look at how it works, okay, at the end of the day, statistics is behind it, right? You have modeling, and it uses those models to come up and to synthesize information or data and then give predictions, right? Whether it is a weather forecasting model or whether it is something like ChatGPT, right? They all fundamentally look at past information, look at patterns, they try to recognize that and then provide information.
Yes.
When you have super intelligence, so how, let's think about this, right? I mean, I'll give you an example, say Tesla car, correct? The car can drive autonomously. But if, say, on the other side of the road, there is an accident, will it stop? Whereas if you are driving and there's nobody else in the road, and with you are driving, you might stop and go and help that person. So that's the difference, right? Whether the intelligence which is there can go and do beyond what it is trained for. That is the difference. I hope that helps.
Yes. At the same time, right now we are moving from machine learning to machine intelligence and even to machine consciousness as well. So how can we foresee as such human interaction with the machine, and as well as does it have any impact or negative analogy will be drawn out of it as such?
So again, I'll go back to this. Most of the AI tools, whether it is chatbots or any other thing which have been out, and you would know from like what Microsoft launched or what others launch, what happens? Because it learns from what it is fed. So if you feed it, say, racial invectives and other abuses, it will use that, right? So that is the problem. And hence, when we come with automation, when we cross that line of just going away from doing tasks which are repetitive and tasks which just cross the border of synthesis to really taking decisions, ethics come into play, right? I think that is important. When you want to take human-like decisions, I think it is important in terms of how do you govern that. So again, it's an open question. I don't think, at least I don't have an answer to that.
All right, probably Viral, you want to take this up?
Yeah,
quickly?
I mean, I will just kind of add, and I totally agree to what Karun said. So there is no right or wrong answer for this, but I'll just go back to what I said. You know, what will humans do in this is essentially keep on training the machines to improve and do better and take up the jobs which humans are doing today, including the ones that you just mentioned, right? And in the scenario where this Tesla car was there, I was just again reminded of one. I think it was a WhatsApp message that I got saying that बीच में अगर cow आ गई गाय तो Tesla car बंद करेगी कि नहीं? Because that's a practical reality of Indian roads, right? So those programming, today the level that we are in today essentially is an output of all the training models that it is doing, but doesn't have the human intelligence which is required to have. Now, can that have that human intelligence? Of course, the time will tell us. But as a part of our jobs as humans, as more and more our jobs are taken by machines, our jobs will remain to keep on training the models such that they do this kind of cognitive intelligence also, which is building. So probably in future, maybe that what you said is, we may have system designed such that judgmental calls are also taken by machines.
Thank you so much.
I love to see that time come to us in terms of machines taking judgmental calls. As much as we want to continue this fantastic session, unfortunately, I can see there's all red blobs out here. Time's up. So we'll have to kind of close this session, but I would like to thank our expert panels here for spending time with us. And of course, on behalf of the Big CII show and behalf of the panelists, I would like to thank all of you all to join us. You have been an amazing audience. By the way, the experts are still with us. You can mingle with them offline. You can ask them gazillion questions. I'm sure they're not going to be saying no. They are going to kind of address your questions per se as well. So thank you so much. And